Hey, bud.
Yes, it's back. That's a good one, buddy. That makes me feel alive. Not much, you.
Just living life. Living the quarantine life.
You got some time on your hands these days, eh, bud?
I do. A little too much time. We might do 4 or 5 pods this week.
We just bang them out now.
Just got nothing else going on.
You got enough material here for the next 6 seasons.
I don't know if I got material, but we've got time.
Fair enough.
Our guest tonight on season 3, it is episode number 6. We want to say welcome to James Duthie, who's going to join us here in a couple moments. So, James, we missed him last week. He was running around. He was what they call the car wash. We'll have to ask him about that. But he has a new book to promote, and we talked a little bit about it last week. So, James is going to join us here in just a couple minutes. There's James. There's the book, and we got to talk about that because the book sounds awesome, and the podcast that goes with it has been awesome.
Yeah, really, you know what? I'm not a big hockey guy. I'll admit it. I'm not a hockey guy, but the podcast that goes with the book, the stories are awesome. Yeah, they're so well edited, so well read. We definitely got to talk to him about that because I'm really enjoying it. I listened to the second episode today. It was awesome.
So we'll talk to James coming up here in just a couple minutes. Before we do, got to say thanks to our sponsors as always. Shauna at the Health House. We appreciate Shauna and her family for dropping off some food. That includes you, Tim. Thank you for keeping us fed.
Trying to keep the quarantiners fed.
Yeah, you have to. And
Chris McLeod. Might be a little tougher to sell a house right now, but I'll give him a call. You know, you can work miracles in remote home selling these days. And Chris is an expert at it. So if you're looking to buy or sell, give him a shout. Even though he's quarantined, he can still talk on a phone.
We've got great people, great team over at Realty House who will take care of things while
Step in for them. For sure.
They are. And, of course, our longtime sponsors, the Pakistan Super League.
Yeah, it's going great. This season is flying in Pakistan right now. We're going to have to catch up on some highlights here. Maybe episode 7 is a dedicated highlight reel. It's going to be good, though. Man, if you haven't tuned into the Pakistan Super League, you're missing out.
Is that the motto? If you haven't tuned in lately, you haven't seen the Pakistan Super League.
If you haven't turned the channel to it, you can't watch it.
Do you know what channel the Pakistan Super League is? No, neither do we. The Pakistan Super League.
But tune in. It's high up there. It's high up on the dial.
Still no response from the Pakistan Super League.
Yeah, I don't know why. They're busy. They're mid-season right now.
That's true.
They got stuff going on. Wait until they're in the off-season. They're going to be all over us.
Tim, let's get to what you drinking, bud.
Hey, what do I got here today? Sunday, I just had people dropping beers off on my front step. So that was amazing. So manager of logistics, Darren Ebert, dropped me off a Black Swan, which is from Stratford. This is the Road Trip Golden Ale. Looking forward to starting the night off with that. And then friend of the show, Tommy P, got me a Cured Craft. This is the Southern Ontario Stout. So we're definitely getting into stout season here. So that's why I pulled that one out. And also Red Barn, friends of the pod as well. They have the chocolate porter in cans right now, the Harwich Moon. So I buzzed out there on Sunday, and grabbed 6 of these and 6 of the Home Farm, which they got on cans right now. So if you're local, you got a Harwich Moon as well. Or Harvest Moon, sorry. No, Harwich Moon.
Harwich Moon. Going to drink that tonight from the guys over at Red Barn, our friends. You can check back on them, season 1, episode 2. From Great Lakes Brewery, the Karma Citra IPA.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that one's gone. That one was a pre-show.
That's quarantine.
And since we have James on tonight, I know he's Mr. Hockey. We've got Marty Turco's brewery.
Oh, nice.
Kingsville, the Czech style lager, and Marty was a guest in our first season. I think actually Marty was on the episode prior to we having James on in the first season. So get to that Kingsville here today. Tim, let's get to it. Let's welcome to the show. It is James Duthie from TSN. Good evening, James. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing, boys? Everything okay?
Really
good. Doing good.
Are you guys hearing me okay? I was having a little problems with my AirPods, so I can take them out unless you guys tell me it's okay.
We hear you loud and clear, James.
Sounds
loud and clear. Loud and clear. Thanks for joining us. We were supposed to talk to you last week, but
I screwed up horribly.
No. Oh no,
I did. Just say it. Tell your viewers, buddy. I screwed up.
All right, James screwed up.
Like a man. I was horrible.
Well, James, it was the release date of your book, and we were kind of just grasping at straws, like, hey, maybe James would be available. And I get it. It's called The Car Wash. Explain what that means for those that, or most of us have never been through it. The Car Wash. What does that mean?
Well, usually I'm on the other side of it, but a car wash essentially means when you're promoting something, or like in the case of an Olympics, you do it as well after you win a medal. You basically just get one thing after the other. You do all your media back and forth, TV, radio, print, whatever. And I guess the car wash analogy is you're just getting,
Yeah.
you're just cruising through and everybody's just getting their hands on you. So that's essentially what it is. So it's a little bit different with a book because it kind of gets spread out over a few weeks usually, but the first day is always. So I had done about 15 things that day, Chris, and I felt so bad because I think I plunked myself down on the couch or something, and then then you sent me a note later and I'm like, oh shit, I was supposed to go bug.
It's all good.
That's all right. That's all right. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time with this show. Before we talk about the books, James, we last talked in the summer, and at that time, I don't think we had any clue what was going on with the hockey season. It ended up happening. Tampa Bay ends up winning. Did you think that was ever a possibility? If you look back to whenever we talked, May or April, whatever it was, like, did you ever think they'd actually get it done and it would be done safely?
I was a doubter. I'd be wrong if I remember Frank Saravalli, one of our insiders on TSN. We made a bet for a dinner because he said he thought it was going to happen. And back in April and May, it just seemed too far-fetched to me. It just seemed like the logistical hurdles the testing was just so up in the air. And I just said, how are they going to pull this off? And not only, I figured you could get hockey players there, but I was like, how are they going to have arena staff and waitresses in the restaurants? And it just didn't make sense to me. So I give the NBA and the NHL both a ton of credit for pulling it off because it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty darn good.
Yeah,
it was really well done. Tim, what were we going to ask there, bud?
Oh no, I had nothing, buddy. I was just thirsty. I'm not lying. I had a late start here, buddy. I'm just easing my way into this. You keep rolling.
I understand the theme of the podcast. I am drinking a frosty mug of cool, delightful craft water.
Oh,
wow. The mug looks great, though. The mug looks like you got something going on.
It is my summer beer mug, but I just finished another day of interviews, so here we go.
I love it. I love it. So the book is called Beauties. Here it is right here.
Oh, look at you and your stills. Nice.
Look at that, eh? Hockey's Greatest Untold Stories, Beauties by James Duthie. James Duthie. It is your third book, James. Why write a book? Like, it seems like I'm the worst writer ever. I'm barely a talker. The book, like, how long does it take to sit down and write a book?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, technically it's my fourth because I did a book with Brian Kilray, the junior hockey coach in Ottawa, which is sort of his book that I wrote, kind of thing. Yep. And it's a royal pain in the ass to write a book. I'm going to say this right now. If to any aspiring writers out there, you have to really want it for your own personal reason, to really want to do it. Never do it for the money unless you're like, J.K. Rowling or whatever. If I was to figure out like $1 per hour what I make on television as compared to writing, it would be like 1,000 to 1 or something like that. It's a lot of work. But the one thing I love about it, first of all, I always loved writing when I was in journalism school. When I got into TV, writing went to the side, so I wanted to get back into it. But I will say this: the books still have there's a permanence to it, right? Like, you have this thing. Sorry, I just actually got my first copies today. That was the craziest thing. I was doing all this media. Everybody had the book, and I never had a copy till like today. So this is the first time I've actually seen the books. But it's there, right? Like, you have it, and your kids and your grandkids or something. Whereas for television, it's not like a panel nobody's ever going to remember. Hey, James, I remember that good Leafs panel you did back in 2016. Like, it just goes poof out into nowhere and it's gone forever, right? Whereas this is something you kind of have, and that's what I like about writing. There's a permanence to it that makes it cool. And in this particular case, I sit on that hockey panel for 18 years next to Hall of Fame players and coaches, and the best part of the job is always like during the games when you don't see us, when we just have our feet up on the desk, and that's when they always relax and tell me the best stories possible. Usually stories that they won't tell on TV. And so I always said if I could get all those stories in a book, right? And so that's what the book is basically, is me asking 60 guys, tell me your favorite hockey story. You know, the one that if the three of us were out in a bar with, you know, who's your favorite hockey player? Tim or Chris? Who's your favorite hockey player? Like,
I love Sydney. Sydney's
okay,
awesome.
So if you're out with Sid or, you know, whoever it may be, Bobby Orr, tell me your favorite story, right? I don't care if it's a game or something that happened off the ice.
Yeah.
Just tell me your favorite story, and that's what I got to do, which was a pretty cool experience.
I do some work with Todd Warner now and then, former Leaf, and Todd's got stories that
Great
like,
story.
and I've told him, I said, you got to write a book, because Todd was never like, you know, top line guy. He was just one of those guys that kind of bounced around a little bit late in his career, played all over the place, but he's got a story from everywhere. Those guys have the best priceless stories. And I love going for a beer with him and just sitting back and just going, just throwing a name out like,
it's the best, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just throwing a name
it's
like
kind of the best part of
yeah.
what we love hockey. Yeah. And that's, you know, one of the things in the book. Obviously I wanted to get Crosby and McDavid and Austin Matthews and Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky, and they're all in the book. And you need those names, right, to sell a book. And but you're so right, Chris. Like the storytellers, Jamie McLennan, who works with me, is unbelievable. He's like Warner, where he's got one. He's just got a story from every stop. And so guys like that, Kelly Chase. One of the chapters in the book is about Brett Hull, and it's just I sat down with Kelly Chase, and he just told me an hour of Brett Hull stories, and I was just on the floor, like just rolling in laughter. They're so funny, and so that's you know, that's the gist of it. Basically, is exactly what you're saying there. It's just tell me a great story.
How do you go about collecting these stories? All these guys got great stories. Did you sit down and have a drink with these 60 different guys? Or how do you pull this off to collect the story?
Yeah, Tim, that was probably the biggest challenge. My last two books were kind of just stuff I wrote myself. Like I wrote kind of a life story type thing in The Guy on the Left, and the other one was a collection of columns, which was basically me just off the top of my head writing about stuff. And that's a lot easier. In this case, you have to track these guys down, and you know, some of them, the guys I work with, the Bob McKenzie or whatever, I can obviously get him for an hour, but getting Sidney Crosby in the middle of a hockey season or Connor McDavid. There's a story I tell in the book, actually, back in September when I first sat down to write. The very first email I sent was to Bobby Orr. And, you know, Bobby and I have a relationship. I've interviewed him a bunch of times, but I don't pretend to be friends or close to him or anything like that. And I said, man, I wonder if Bobby Orr is going to ever get back to me, right? I figured it would take months. And so that was about 10:30 at night. I wrote that email. And the next morning, my phone rings, unknown number. And I answer, and it's like, hey, James, it's Bobby. I got a story for you. And I was so rattled, first of all, that he called back so fast. But also, I didn't know how to tape. I'm a kind of a technical idiot, and I didn't know how to tape phone conversations. And so the only way I'd figured out how to do it was to put my cell phone on speaker, take my wife's cell phone and use the voice memo folder, right? And record that way. And so I ran into the kitchen, and my wife was like ordering something for my daughter online, like, or on phone. And I'm like, honey, it's Bobby Orr. I need your phone. And she's like, yeah, whatever. So anyway, do you have an extra small on that? And I'm like, buddy, and I'm hold on, Bobby, 1 second. It's Bobby freaking Orr. And this went on for about 2 minutes, and my wife finally gave up and said, my husband's having a seizure or something, so I have to get off the phone. And that's how I did it. But yeah, it was a challenge to get some guys. And Crosby, for example, I finally did interview him. I went down to Pittsburgh in March, but before that, he would send me voice memo folders. The same thing. Like I couldn't get him on the phone, but in my phone would pop up every 2 weeks like a voice memo folder, and I'd play it, and he'd be like, "Hey, James, it's Sid. So I thought of another one for you," and he would just tell me stories through voice memos. So it was this weird, random way that I would collect these stories throughout the year.
That's so funny. I'm just having. I know you won't tell us, but is Bobby Orr's email bobby04@hotmail.com? And it's like Sidney Crosby's number, like 519-8787. Like I just,
you know, I don't even know what I'm trying to think of what I could look it up right now, and I wouldn't tell you, but I don't know if Bobby Orr's even has like Orr in it. I think it's something disguised like that. So No, they don't.
Greatest
have that.
defenseman in the world.
.com.
At Hotmail.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
Yeah.
James, to go along with the book, you've started a podcast, and it's kind of a different thing. We had Mark Hebscher on. He wrote The Greatest Athlete You Never Heard Of, and I listened to his audiobook. It was cool because I got to listen to his voice. But you went with this podcast route, and to be honest, this podcast is amazing. Like it's so awesome to listen to. Christoph is putting that all together, and he's doing a great job with that podcast. There's two episodes. I've listened to two. They're awesome. So why'd you go that route?
Yeah, the Brett Hull one that I was talking about actually drops later tonight. So
nice.
Well, I wanted to do something different. We did a couple of different things with this book. We did a trailer, which was cool. Like, I always love movie trailers. So I thought, what if you did a book trailer? And I have a great producer named Neil Salinas who cut me a trailer for the book. And then I have never done an audiobook before. And I don't really like the idea of, I know that's kind of the way the world is going. But I thought if you were going to do that, instead of just having me read it, boring old me, why wouldn't we do something cooler? I had all these stories on tape, so why not let the storytellers tell the stories as well? So you hear my voice, but you hear the storytellers, and Christoph, it's kind of like a radio doc more than it is like an audiobook, right? And now the only tricky part was I don't want to give away the whole book, right? Because you podcasts are free, and I understand money's tight for everybody out there. So I don't know what we're going to do yet. I think what we'll probably do is maybe 8 or 9 chapters. The publisher was okay with that. So 8 or 9 podcasts. And then maybe, I haven't even told Christoph this because I'll probably scare the heck out of him, but I would like to do them all eventually and then put that as the audiobook. I think it would be the coolest audiobook ever.
For sure.
If you just did, there's 57 chapters, I think, in the book, and to put them all as that kind of radio documentary, I think you'd have quite an amazing sort of audiobook. But I think that'll be a year down the road or something like that, so we can sell some books first, maybe.
It's a great format.
Oh, it's epic. Like I wasn't expecting as good as it was. If that's, I'm not trying to insult you.
No, that's a compliment. I take that too, because I cannot say enough about this guy. Christoph is. I do this Rubber Boots podcast, and he's on it and produces it, and he does the Jay and Dan podcast. But he's one of the most smartest, talented guys I know. And literally, I basically read the chapter of the book, I ad lib a little bit, and I give him all the interviews, and he just he strings it together, and he does just a marvelous job. So full credit to him.
We'll have him as a guest in the podcast at some point. He's kicking butt. A couple people asking here, is the book in stores yet? Yes, it is. It is available right now.
It is. It's everywhere. Your Amazons or your chapters. It should be pretty much everywhere. And you know what? I will say, I'm not a braggadocious guy, but I do think that hockey fans will really like this one. It's funny. My last book, I was kind of very sheepish about, because who really wants to read my life story? And so I wasn't a very good seller of it. I'm like, yeah, if you want to read it, okay. If you don't, but this one I like, and I do actually think, even people that don't love hockey, because so many of the stories are about off ice stuff. That I think if you just like a good story, you don't even necessarily have to love hockey. So I hope people like it.
Did you realize there would be books? Now I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's a pile of good hockey books out coming into Christmas. Do you know that when you're going into the season? You're like, oh, okay. Well,
I think about that actually, because Bob McKenzie's got one coming out, and the last thing I want to do is compete with the Bob Father.
Yeah.
So you never really know, because I don't think you know what all the other publishers are doing. Like, what your own publisher is doing, and because some years are. You don't want to come out the same year that there's like a Bobby Orr book or a Gretzky book or something like that, because they will just destroy and smother you forever. But yeah, there's some great books out this year, but you don't really know. You might get, like Bob and I both know that we had books coming out at the same time, but I didn't know there was a Brian Burke book until it came out a couple of weeks ago. Berkey and I exchange texts all the time about how much his book sucks and vice versa. But,
we're talking about the pod, Tim, and as soon as Tim brings this up, it gets in my head too. Tim, I'll let you ask it here.
Oh, my wife goes crazy every time I listen to your podcast, because the theme song at the end just gets stuck in my head. The Rubber Boots theme song that plays at the end of the podcast gets stuck in my head. But she always asks me, why is it called the Rubber Boots Podcast? So can you enlighten us on why it's called the Rubber Boots Podcast?
Oh, man. It's funny. I used to tell this story all the time, but I haven't told it in years. And I told it on the first of all, it was probably a massive mistake in retrospect, because when we started this thing, like, I didn't know what we were doing, and I thought it was going to last 5 episodes and that would be it, right? So I have this story, which I'll tell in a second. And I sort of put it out on Twitter. Hey, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. What should I call it? And the story that I had told, the story, I think, on the Jay and Dan podcast, which was really popular in certainly in the early, still is, but in the early days of podcasts when there weren't many. And I think I may have told it on the radio one time. And so it had like this sort of cult following, and people would always tweet me about Rubber Boots and stuff. And so, of course, when I went to Twitter and said, what should I call my podcast? Everybody said Rubber Boots. And then we decided to do so. Now, it's a terrible idea, because I never realized that if you want to be like people looking for podcasts, why are they going to listen to something called the Rubber Boots Podcast, right? So it's like the worst name ever, but at the same time, we kind of love it because it's quirky and we don't really care. So anyway, when I used to work at CJOH TV in Ottawa, my first job, this is, now I'm an old guy, so this is back in like early 90s, and there was no internet, and like there weren't that many games on TV. Like anybody young watching your show right now, like you don't understand how lucky you are. There would be like one, there might be a Leaf game on a Wednesday night, then there was Saturday night hockey. The Blue Jays might be on once or twice a week, or the Expos, and there was nothing else. And so people would actually call the station to get scores. Like our number was in the phone book, and half of my job as a sportscaster at night, I would take 100 calls, and they'd say, hey, what's the score in the Expos game? And I'd be like, it's 4-1 in the 7th. That was half the calls. I'm sure anybody under 20 or 25 is going like, how is that even possible that happened? So that was part of my job, is I'd answer the phone every night and tell people what scores were. And then, so one night I pick up the phone, and this guy, I say, hey, CJ Wade Sports. And this guy says, hey, how are you? And I said, I'm good. How are you? And he goes, good. So are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? And I go, what? He goes, are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? And I go, like, buddy, do you want to score or what? And he goes, oh, I got one more question. I like, what is it? He goes, do you like the dunk tank? And I'm like, what? And he goes, the dunk tank at the fair. I'm like, the dunk tank at the fair? Yeah. And so I hung up on him. I was just mad, and I moved on with my night. And next night, phone rings. Hey, how are you? Are you wearing your rubber boots tonight? So I would hang up on this guy for like 3 weeks straight. And then one night he got me when I was bored or something, right? And so I pick it up. Hey, you wearing your rubber boots tonight? So I'm like, yeah, you know what I am? I am wearing my rubber boots tonight. And he goes, oh, what color? And I go, I'm wearing my blue ones tonight. Oh, would you put them up on the desk for me tonight? I said, yes, during my sportscast, I'm going to put my rubber boots up on the desk. So anyway, I ended up having this phone relationship with this guy for 2 years, where he would phone me every night. And I would occasionally like try to turn it on him and say, buddy, what do you do anyway? Like, what's your story? Right. And then he'd panic. He'd be like, I make parts for, I got to go. And so anyway, that sort of became a famous story. Now the crazy subplot to this that I've only found out in recent years, I guess after the Rubber Boots podcast started, was that this guy apparently called other people. Like, he was famous at the call-in, like for Telus and Bell or Rogers or whatever. People knew this guy, and like he would call. So I thought it was just me and him, but he would call like 20 different people a night with this rubber boots fetish. And so anyway, that story stayed with me forever. I wrote a chapter about him in my book, and I never found out who the rubber boots guy is. Really? I don't know if he's probably. I don't know if he's still alive. I don't know, but he was my best friend.
That's great. I've heard that story many times, and I love every time I hear it. It is great.
Yeah.
Rubber Boots podcast. Make sure you grab the book too. James, whenever you're on the pod, you call yourself Jimmy. I don't know why. That just makes me laugh. It just always makes me laugh.
I completely stole it from the Seinfeld episode where Jimmy refers to himself in the first person. Jimmy likes Elaine, and Elaine thinks he's talking about his friend the whole time.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway. Good stuff. Good stuff. James, one more question here. So obviously the sports world is is upside down right now, but you are going to go to the Masters next month.
Yeah, we are, which I'm really pumped about. With trepidation, obviously we have to be very careful. We're actually taking, this is a whole other story, Whoopi Goldberg's bus. We rented the bus that Whoopi Goldberg uses. I guess she's afraid of flying. And so we're getting COVID tested a couple of times, and then we all get on the bus together in Toronto, drive straight to our house in Georgia, and we can only go either be in the house or at the course. We can't go anywhere else. And so I'm hopefully, things go okay. We make it down there. But as much as it's going to suck without fans, I think it's, for a very selfish perspective, I think it's going to be amazing to cover, because the one thing about the Masters, guys, is that it's really hard to cover on the golf course. There's no cell phones. You're not allowed to bring your cell phone onto the grounds at Augusta National. If you get caught with a cell phone, you're kicked out right away. There's no electronic scoreboards. There's no big screens. It's only those old wooden scoreboards. It's like walking back into the early 1900s. And so from a broadcast perspective, I always have to watch like the last 9 at least on television back in the broadcast center. There's no way I can go on the course and know what's going on. And so this is a case where there's going to be nobody out there. And, if we want to follow Tiger Woods or Bryson DeChambeau or whoever it may be, we can actually be right up against the rope. So I'm really looking forward to it from that perspective.
That's really cool. Did you have to email Whoopi at whoopi69@hotmail.com? Is that how you got a hold of her?
Just throw it out, see what comes back.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
James Duthie, get the book right now. James, we appreciate it. Thanks for doubling back and getting on here today. Grab the book. Is that all your books behind it? Did you purposely?
No, here, I'll tell you just before I leave you. Yep. This is, I don't have my light on. I should have put my light on for you guys. This is my little TV setup. This is where I've been doing all the TSN segments for the last 6 months in my office. And my wife, I don't really have a man cave or anything. My wife's very much into like the InStyle magazine stuff. And so after a couple of weeks, my boss said, your set doesn't look sporty enough, right? So I grabbed these 2 footballs like that I got at the Super Bowl. And then I grabbed a stack of sports books, which happens to have, now they have mine in them because I got mine today, but they didn't have mine before. And that's my backdrop, is these 2 footballs and a pile of books that makes me somehow look sporty. And that's awesome. That's solid. But it is a little bit vain to have your own books behind you, don't they? It's just like, hi, everyone. That's why I should do all my segments. Welcome to Insider Trading.
That is awesome.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yes, James. Thank you.
Apologies about last week, and all the best.
It's all good.
It's all right. James Duthie from TSN. Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys.
Grab the book right now. James Duthie, Beauties, the untold greatest hockey's untold. Well, I can't even spit it out. Hockey's greatest untold stories. Beauties by James Duthie. I keep wanting to say that because I want my family to pick that up for me for Christmas, because that is good. It's funny because I have read all his books. I read the Buy and Kill Red, Ottawa 67's GM. I read the Day I Almost Killed Gretzky. Was his second book, and then the guy on the left, which is the story, his life story, in there too. And then obviously this one, it's Beauties. It looks really good. It's really good. He's a good dude, man.
He was awesome. Honestly, that podcast that he's doing with the book, if you haven't tuned into an episode of that yet, it's awesome. And like I said, I'm not a big hockey guy, but the stories are awesome. The stories are great. So I've been listening to those, and I'm looking forward to the next one to drop, because it's good stuff. And I love the Rubber Boots podcast. It's just a bunch of dudes talking about nothing, and Jimmy talking about stuff that he does. It's awesome. I could have talked to him. I was kind of fan gushing over him because I've been listening to the podcast all the way back after we talked to him. I was like, I'm listening to the podcast. So I could have talked to him all day about his podcast, but he was awesome. It was good to have him on.
So listen to the Rubber Boots pod. It's really well done. And then listen to the Beauties podcast, which is like an epic documentary. It's only like 17 minutes. It's not long at all. And then they have the after show, the Rubber Beauties after show.
Yeah, so it's like the 3BeerPod after show, but it's the Rubber Beauties after show. So the guys that are on his regular Rubber Boots podcast, they just get together and shoot the shit about the episode that they just dropped. But the episodes are really cool because, like you said, he's got all the audio of the recording. So he talks a little bit. They drop in the actual person that he interviewed. Christoph does his magic, and it's like you're listening to an old school radio story. So I highly recommend the Beauties podcast, and he's not paying us anything to say that. So
nope, not at all.
I would just watch it or listen to it. Sorry, it's awesome.
Yeah, no free books either. So
yeah, I could have dropped us an Amazon coupon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Grab that book right there. Hey, Timmer, coming up this weekend is Halloween, and I found this. I think this was from last year, but I thought this is topical. So Halloween this weekend, so it's going to be a little different this year, but you can still grab your candy. How about your Halloween pairing guide from the beer store? Okay, so these are the beers you pair with the Halloween candies that you get. So
this is fantastic.
You like that? What would be your candy of choice? Your daughter comes back.
All of them. What she's bringing back in her bag, I will steal the Snickers. I'm a big Snickers fan. I don't think she'll notice. I won't steal like the Smarties M&Ms. She'll get that, but Snickers, slide those right out, crush them. Just absolutely crush them. How about you?
I love Rockets.
Oh, so good.
I eat them and I just keep them under my tongue like it's a drug. Like I've just taken them. And it just dissolves. It's just, there's something good about that. But the mini bag of chips, which has now become a year-round celebration.
I've been crushing those since COVID started.
And the mini Kit Kats still. The mini M&Ms is a joke though, because you get 4. There's a lot more work. Cool. A lot more work getting into it.
The Kit Kat, do you break it in half and eat it, or do you just throw the whole thing in?
Well, here's the thing. If I'm eating a Kit Kat as a full Kit Kat, it's individual. But mini, there's no rules.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Allie, you're not right. No one likes Rockets.
That's bull.
Yeah, I think Allie here and Corey, I believe, are both on quarantine with me. Not with me. We're not living in the same place.
We're quarantine friends tuning in.
We should have just rented a floor in a hotel, guys. But I think these guys are all quarantined with me. So
that's fair.
Right. I'll throw it up again. Let's get another look at this because you can get a better look at it. So,
I'm not buying the fruit flavored candies with the IPA. I'm not gonna lie. So the dark ale, I'm not sure about these choices, but I'll try anyways. Yeah. So I think I'll go pale lager with the tart candies and chips. Just crush them.
Oh yeah. All day, every day, right there. So Halloween pairing guide for this weekend for those that are going to be celebrating.
Or stealing kids' candy, like their own kids, not like on the street. Social distance, please, on the street.
Yep. Allie and Corey are both, they're both quarantined with me for the next week or so. So see, look at Tim's on board. Tim Haskell says Rockets are the best.
Rockets are the best. I like them. I remember as a kid crushing them up, thinking I was like a drug dealer and stuff. I wasn't. I wasn't a drug dealer at all. Totally clean.
So Timmer, I am on quarantine. I was out last week and apparently may have come into contact with somebody who is got the positive test. So I had to go today and get my my COVID test. You've had one.
I had one. Yeah, it was an experience for sure. I was concerned that it might poke my fake eye out when they if they went too far. I can't see this mirror thing. They go up this nostril too far. I thought my fake eye would pop out.
Yeah. So I gotta say, and you're watching all over the place, but it's the thought of it is worse than the actual experience.
Not bad.
And the way I went in, I was there 13 minutes. Left my house, was back in 13 minutes. And what I can only say is sometimes we all have this, right? When you get a boog,
right,
just way out there,
you got to go up to get it,
and you're just blowing your nose, and you're doing everything to get it out. Next time I get one of those, I'm going in for a test because this will get it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So you should have asked for some just on the way out, just the long pokey thing. That experience was okay. Can I take some of those?
My concern was that they were going to remove something. Like they were going to pull it out and be like, oh,
What is that?
like I would throw the nurse right for a loop. I've never seen that.
What did you do? What is this?
That's what I thought. She's like, oh, you're gross. So she was great. This woman was great. It was like, and like I feel like it was up to here. Like I feel like
Right.
that's where she was like.
I think that's where you get the best results. It's just above the eyebrow. It's just right up through.
It's where the coronavirus lives, right in this area, right?
I don't know if that's been scientifically proven, but you heard it first here on the 3Beer podcast that's probably where it lives.
Like, it was up in this vicinity.
So did you blow your nose like a ton before you went?
Yeah, I did. I was in the parking lot giving it a good clean.
Cleaned out.
Yeah, and then they said, "Okay, come on this way," and I was one of these. Yeah, Corey, you're right. The brain tickler. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. A little, but then I fell off because they did my right side. I almost said just do the left, like just.
Can you give me a clean out on the other side just in case?
Little lube oil filter before we get out of here.
Why not?
Yeah.
So we still got another week left, then, buddy.
Yeah. So I'll have another pod.
Lined up?
I'm done. I'm gonna rake the leaves 7 times this week. So
there will not be a leaf dropped at the McLeod residence under his watch in quarantine.
A leaf drops. I catch it before it hits the ground, and I run it to the bag.
We need some video of that where you are just in your backyard sprinting from leaf to leaf, dropping. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
That's it. Thanks Timmer, for dropping off food too. That was great. So
yeah, no problem, buddy. I was firing up the old Traeger. Thought I could sauce you over some meats. It's all good.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good. So yeah, all my fellow quarantiners are waving in here. That's awesome. That's awesome. Tim, I did have something else. What I was going to show you here. Oh, this hold on here. I got to do this. So there's this new Instagram account. Let's see if I can pull it up here while we're talking. This Instagram account that's getting a lot of attention, and I thought it was pretty funny. It's called Miserable Men. Miserable Men is what it's called here. And this is what it's called. It's men that went shopping and just them being miserable while out shopping.
That's fantastic. That's why they need more. Look at that guy. That's why they need more breweries located at malls. Yep. So if you're an aspiring brewer, well, that guy's pissed.
Yeah, he hates life.
You just need more breweries at malls, and like this is probably pre-COVID. Oh, this is probably in the States, so it's probably not pre-COVID at all. This is real time. That guy is just chilling.
Yeah, so it's miserable_men on Instagram. You can find it there. Look at this guy. He's just making the best of a bad situation here.
Hanging out with the Lego friends, just chilling, hating life. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we've probably been on there sometime. Look at that guy.
This guy brought a blanket.
That's fantastic. We've probably made the cut. We just haven't got our pictures posted yet, buddy.
Yeah, we'll be up there at some point. This guy's just sawing logs.
So, all these guys need a beer. That's the thing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Miserable_men is where you can find that on the old Instagram machine.
I will be following.
That's too funny. That's too funny. Stuff. Timmer, I don't have a whole lot else here tonight.
No, I think we're good, buddy. I would say go check out James Duthie's book and the Beauties podcast. I think the Beauties podcast is awesome. Yeah. I'm not much of a book reader, but I might even buy this one because it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it looks really good, so I hope somebody buys this for me. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint.
No, it's great. James, we missed James last week. If you caught it last week, everything went downhill because we were waiting for James to come on. And and I reached out and I said, hey, no big deal. Like, I know you're busy today, but we missed you. And if we could ever get you on again at some point. He has reached out to the podcast a couple times. He even messaged about 20 minutes beforehand. Guys, I will be there tonight. So
it was awesome. That was great. I loved hearing the rubber boot story. That was amazing with the voice too. It makes me howl.
Get the book. Listen to the pod. Also listen to all 3 of his pods. You can find all those online. And of course, download this pod when you get a chance to be up online for tomorrow morning. Thanks to our sponsors again, Tim. Thanks to Shauna over at the Health House. Me, I'm quarantined. I can't leave the house, but we'll find somebody to show you a house if you're looking or looking to list at Realty House. They're great people over there. And to our good friends at the Pakistan
Super League. Love it, buddy.
That
That was good. Happy quarantining, eh, buddy? Let me know if you need anything. I'll Google you something over there. Amazon you something.
FaceTime it when you're out in public because I really missed that.
Hey, look where I am. I'm in public. You're not.
I'm standing in line. Oh,
you miss all of this.
Timmer, cheers, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Stick love.